Hello, 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 my dear friends. It is Tuesday evening. You know what that means. Another Conversations That Matter here on the Hold Up TV. And I am so grateful to be here this evening after a long day at work to see so many fine people join here on Twitch and on Green Room. It's your boy Steve, real name, no gimmicks. And tonight I have a special show planned for you. I am truly grateful that all three of my guests were able to jump in on short notice. You know, Conversations That Matter is a show that is about allowing people to express themselves and their viewpoints uninterrupted. But it also gives us a chance to get to know people that maybe we wouldn't have an opportunity to know about. And I have three women with me tonight who I'm, as I said before, so grateful that they're here with me. I'm going to be joined by my sister Kathy, my sister Carmen, and of course, my sister D Love. And we're going to be talking about their journey as three Latin women that are mothers. And they're going to give us their perspective on who they are. Great conversation inbound. I see one of them has joined me. It's my sister Kathy. There she is. Oh,
Hi.
There's the other one. There's Carmen. And we're just
Hi, everyone.
we're just waiting for one more person. But I'm so happy to have you two here. How are y'all doing this evening?
Doing
good.
Doing great, thank you. Are we live already?
Yeah, we're live. We are live, my sisters.
Hi, everyone.
So we're just waiting for our sister D Love to jump on, and I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone that's over in Green Room, Billy, Laney, True, Da Vinci, and my brother Courtney Monroe. Hello to you, and shout out to everyone that's over on Twitch right now. And how y'all doing?
Good. How about you? How was your day?
Oh, you know, my day is full of work. It's a day-to-day struggle just to stay employed. You know, there's always the opportunity to do something you can't take back when you're dealing with your work family. You know, so I'm grateful to be out of there. Grateful to be surrounded by y'all. How was your day?
Everything had a great day, thanks.
You had a great day? Good.
Mike, can you guys see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's up, Berlin? How you doing, my brother? I see you over there in the chat. Old Pony, what's going on? I haven't heard anything back yet from D, so we'll just, we'll kind of get a soft start going here, and then
before we do start, I do want to say thank you so much, Steve, for this opportunity. Conversations That Matter. Just want to also say that may God continue to bless you because you're doing a lot of amazing things and supporting us. And you know what? I am really proud of you. You're gonna get there. I know so. You're gonna get up there, brother. So
you know what, Carmen, from your mouth to God's ears, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. I gotta be real with you. I'm always so grateful that people will come out and share their time with me, considering, like I stated at the onset of the show, you are working women and your mothers, you have your own lives. I know it's not easy to jump on and just, you're probably doing the same thing I usually do when my kids are awake, like get out the camera. Grab a toy, go back on the other side of the room. So don't feel, if the babies come on, that's totally fine.
Okay.
D Love says, okay, I'm going. All right. So what are we talking about tonight? So I feel as if though it's important to have you ladies on tonight, because here's why. My show isn't geared towards one demographic of people. Yes, I am a black man, and I am a black man in America, but I am a human being that is a part of the human experience, and I love connecting with people inside of the larger space of humanity. And so I've always wanted to have people up and tell stories and hear their stories and see where they're coming from. But in regards to the Latino perspective, this is something that I've been really championing for on my channel, because I want to make sure that I am having the opportunity, giving people the opportunity to voice their experience according to their culture, right? And as a man who's married to a Latino woman, this is something that's near and dear to me, right? As the great Dave Chappelle said, he's like, it means something to me because of who my wife is, and it would mean something to me even if it wasn't for my wife. And seeing as that my kids are half Latino, this will be a chronicle where they can hear more about their culture from people who aren't their mother, right? So let's get into it. Let's start here. We'll start with Kathy, who's back on the camera. I let the audience know that both of these lovely ladies here, I've hit them up individually, like, hey, you gotta come on the show, you gotta come on the show. And they're like, no, I'm not on there. I will support you. I will hit like. They are both champions, longtime supporters of my content. And a little backstory, we actually met on Spoon because I had done a stream, and I'm gonna tell you honestly, like, I woke up that morning and found out it was Hispanic Heritage Month, and I was doing Request Box Live the first day, and I was like, oh, we got to do this. We got to do this. I got to do a night where I just play Latino music and celebrate that culture 100%. And that was the first time I encountered you two. And you came into the live. It's like as soon as I hit live, you both jumped in and you were like, oh snap, I see the flag in the background, and you started dropping requests. And I think I was playing like Tito Puente, and they were like, what you know about some Tito Puente? I'm like, man, I know everything about some Tito.
Yeah, you played all the greats that night. You had Mark Anthony, Celia Cruz, all the greats.
Yo, I want you to know I slaved over that list of music, right? Like I was like, that one, and then you ladies started adding to the music selection. And I remember we were just bonding, and I was like, yo, you're gonna come back, we're doing it again tomorrow night. And you came back.
Yeah, day two.
Day two. The rest was history.
I remember being so tired after those 2 nights, but it was so worth it. So let me start here. Let's start with Kathy. But wait, actually, let me do it again. Did you two know each other prior to the Spooniverse? I've always wanted to ask you this.
No, we met that day on your live. Yes, that was the first time we met.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yo, because when I remember Carmen came through for the second night, she's like, let me text my sister. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, they actually know it. They're like friends. Like I thought it was like a Leilani situation.
we got close right away, and she's been like my partner in crime ever since.
That's awesome. There she is. Hey, D.
Hey guys, trying to fix this camera. I don't know, guys. I need help over here.
Just click it down.
Flip it down a little bit.
Yeah,
there you go.
So there we are. We have the trio finally united. So I'm gonna go through. So Kathy, Carmen, you guys didn't know each other prior to that night, and then you came in, just became fast friends. How long into the YouTube met D?
I want to say it was maybe just a few weeks later on Berlin's live, DT Dub's live on Spoon as well.
Okay.
And I don't know if they already knew each other, but that was the first time I met D, and she was just really cool, super sweet right off the bat. And we also just hit it off.
So it was just like an instant click for all three of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So let me get a little background for the listening audience. Let's start with. Say again, Kathy.
I'm over here trying to mess with the lights. Hold on.
Don't worry about it.
Oh no,
it just drives you crazy. Dark. No, it's okay. All good.
Thank you.
Tony, tell her it's all good. So let's start here, Kathy. Where you from? If you're comfortable sharing it, tell us about where your family's from. Give us your background. Yes, the trials of a parent. Like,
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I was born in California, but my dad is from Durango, Mexico, and my mom from El Salvador. The city is Zacatecoluca.
Okay.
It's a long word. But yeah, I was raised with both cultures. You know, my parents are still together to this day, and we always grew up learning about both of their things, and I was always around both of their families. So, I feel like they really did a good job in teaching me about my beginning or our beginnings, and as a people, our different, cultures, because there's difference in food, music,
Hmm.
even dancing.
Yeah.
But they made sure that, me and my siblings learned about all of that. And I'm
That's
very proud of my identity.
that's beautiful. There's a difference in politics and belief structure as
Mhm.
well. Was well, tell me a little bit more about LA. How long did you live there? You know, about your upbringing. Give me some more of that.
She's saying, "Go to sleep."
Yes, sorry. um, I was in LA until I want to say the year 2000, and then we moved to Georgia. My father is the one who decided we would move because his asthma was getting really bad in LA, and he just started doing like he used to be a cook, and then he transitioned over into mechanic work, and he did like night school in order to get a, I don't know if it's a certificate or something of, when you study cars, it's a technical school.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And, just everything piled on, and he was like stressed and working nights and uh, going to school at night and then working in the day. My mom had two jobs. His asthma was getting bad. And then during that time, his brother told him, "Hey, I know this place called Georgia where there's better jobs and it's a better place to raise your family." And he like took a trip with them without even telling my mom and us. And then before you know it, he called us and he was like, "Yeah, this, I'm going to move you guys here. We're going to make this work." And here we are, still living in Georgia.
How long have you lived in Georgia in total?
Um 20 years, I guess, 22 years.
Oh wow. All right. So Georgia is home. Georgia is
Yeah.
100%
But
home.
we're the only ones here from our family. It's just me, my siblings, and my parents.
Oh
Most
wow.
of our cousins, aunts, and uncles, they're still in California.
Do you make your way back west to meet your family and everything?
Yeah, we do every now and then, just haven't in a while since I had kids and I guess COVID and everything. We've had some aunts come visit us here and some cousins stay for a while, but that's been it.
It's crazy because when people think of Georgia, when they think of Atlanta, and this is one of those things of why I asked you, you ladies on the show, is they don't really think of the Latin community that's in Georgia or in Atlanta, and there's definitely a large, larger Salvadorian population is the larger Mexican population in Georgia and Atlanta that represents very strong.
Yeah.
I've met some of those cats before, and they hardworking people, and and they love their families. Let's get you, Carmen. Where you from? Who you be with?
Hello. I am from Texas. I was born in Dallas, but was raised in Arlington, Texas. My both parents are Salvadorian, so I'm Salvadorian American, first generation. Um, yeah, pretty much that's it. I think I've been living all my life here in Arlington, Texas.
Hmm.
All my life. I haven't gone anywhere, just here, stay here in Texas. But the population here in Arlington, Texas, it's especially Hispanic. It's raising up really. It used to be like this small, and now it's getting really high. I think I actually do take pride where I live because they're embracing the Hispanic culture here more.
Hmm.
And that's to me is really honor because recently, like a couple months ago, I recently discovered they opened a Salvadorian restaurant close to my house. So you don't see a lot of Salvadorian restaurants here in where I live. So that to me, that was just like, when did this happen? So I even told the owner, when did y'all open? Oh, we opened like a couple months ago. I was like, what? Where was I? Why didn't I got invited?
Why did I get the email?
Yeah. So I don't know. It just like gets me like really like enjoyed that I know that my city is actually embracing the Hispanic culture here.
Mhm.
And they do carnivals all the time where they have like Hispanic heritage, like the independence. So that's really, that to me, that was really important. That kind of like got me joy to know that, okay, you know, my city is really down for the Hispanic cultures and stuff. So that that's amazing. So as well, I do know that my parents came here to El Salvador to get a better future for us. And my dad been working all his life. Like he is still working. Oh my dad, you need to retire. He's like 75 years old and he's still working. I guess that's just the Salvadorian thing on him. They're very hard worker, and I think Hispanic too, Mexican people, and they're very hard worker people, and they're not like no. And then it's just so funny too. I'll be like, Dad, you know, like he doesn't believe in going to the hospital. I was like, it's important, Dad. Like it is
So cultural.
important. Yes. So he has insurance. I was like, I always have to like tell him, Dad, I'm gonna get you insurance, and thankfully he got insurance. So I'm just glad he's good. My mom has been working, but at the time she started getting sick, and I think at that time, I think I just started like to tell myself, you know what, I need to step up the plate to help my parents. I don't want them to be struggling because it's really hard because you just been working all your life, and you know when are you gonna take a break?
Right.
So I last year I had the privilege to take my parents to a vacation, and I think that was one of the most honoring thing I ever did. I always dreamt to take my parents to vacation, and I did that last year, and I felt happy that I did that. So
That's
my
beautiful.
yeah,
No, finish your statement. What were you going to say? Finish your statement. I know that you're
no,
a
my
super fan.
yeah, my dad. He was. I never seen him happy, and that was like the very first time that I actually saw my dad really happy. We went to Florida. We went to Destin, and he always wanted to go to Florida. And we also went to a 1 day trip to New Orleans because he's always saying, "Oh, I want to go to New Orleans." I was like, "Dad, well, today is your lucky day because we're gonna go do a 1 day trip. We're gonna drive over there. And you're gonna have all the shrimps you want." And I have this picture that I took with him with my son, and I always look at that picture, and it just like kind of like brings joy,
Right.
and I cry. I don't cry because I'm sad. I cry because I have this thing in my heart knowing that I did that to my dad. Like he deserved it because he's always been working all his life and making sure there's food. And I know there was times that we didn't have food growing up, and but he still managed to work and make sure there was still rice and beans or eggs or something to eat. And I think so, him sacrificing, I think to
Mhm.
me that I just really look up to my dad for doing that, and I think that's why I work really hard too, and making sure that I sacrifice for my kids and working hard as well. So
That's
yeah.
beautiful. And you also have spent some, I know you and I bonded over this. You've spent some time in LA as well, correct?
Um, to be honest with you, it was just like a couple of days going there. Um, it's a really long story. I don't really want to get to that.
Yeah, I got you. Don't say anything that the statue isn't on.
Yeah, but
That's
yeah, that that was really fun. That
so
just
being just having that ability. And D Love, allow me to reintroduce yourself. Are you still with us, my sister D Love? Are you
I'm
still
right here, brother. Can you guys see me?
No,
I'm
we
the worst at this.
we can't see you, but
Oh
that's
wait, hold on.
okay.
All right. I know this camera, so I'm so sorry. I can't get it to work properly.
There's no need to apologize. This is the moment where we all just start relaxing and then we'll get into the conversation. For those of you who didn't catch D Love's episode on Conversations That Matter, D, would you tell the people who the heck you are?
That's right. It's your girl, Diana, aka D Love. Um, I'm from California, here in LA, sunny city of LA.
Hey,
Yeah, my family, well, myself, I was born in Guatemala. My family's from Guatemala, and I've been here since I was almost 3 years old.
that's right. Repping,
LA
repping,
is home.
repping LA.
That's
Not the
right.
worst place on earth to live. So, ladies, let's get right into it. The reason I asked you onto the show is because I wanted to hear your experience according to you, first generation mothers. And then maybe if y'all have something y'all want to share with the people later on, I'll leave that on you. That's no pressure. There's no pressure there. But let's get into it. Tell me about your experience as first generation representing your family and what that was like growing up here in the States and how it impacted you. Well, let's start with D.
Yeah, it was you know what? It was a tough situation being first generation. You don't really have someone to go to show you, how it works. I'm the oldest one, and I remember growing up, my parents speaking no English, and me having to translate everything for them, And I was a little child, so I didn't understand half of the stuff that I was, translating for them. And it was tough. It was tough, and them always, like enforcing, you work hard, you get what you get, you have to work hard for it, you have to go to school. And but it was hard because they were not able to help me, in school. So if I needed maybe like tutoring or something, that was not an option for me growing up. I think our children nowadays are so blessed. There's so many things out there for them and that we didn't have, and we just had to figure it out. There
Right.
was no option of just being like, oh, I can't do it. No. So it was hard in that sense. Not having a mentor, someone that can help you out. But you know what, you learn from that. I feel like I've learned from that. It made me the struggle made me work even harder, and be thankful now for what I have. So I appreciate that very much, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no, it's well, let me not go on a soliloquies. Let's hear from you, Carmen. What was that like for you growing up first generation? It's something all three of you share in common. When we were preparing for this interview, I was just like, to think about it from my vantage point, I'm like, man, it's not that it's crazy. It's just like I was trying to put myself in your shoes emotionally and trying to figure out what that would be like. What was it like for you, Carmen?
It was really hard. I think honestly that was like one of the struggles for me because especially going to school and learning a different language because I have spoke Spanish from since growing up, going little, and then going to school in first grade, and they're teaching us how to speak English. That to me, I didn't understand why. I was like, why do we have to learn a new language? Like I've been talking
Mhm.
Spanish since I was little. And I remember there was this one time, there was this incident that this teacher was like really mad at me for not learning English. That to me, that kind of like really got to me, you know? And knowing also that I had to translate for my parents in a young age, and because they only knew how to write their names, but they
Right.
couldn't read Spanish, so I had to read Spanish and English and translate for them because they didn't have school when they were in El Salvador.
Wow.
So
Oh,
that was really hard for me, and I am the youngest of six. I have an older brother, two older sisters that were born in El Salvador, and then my brother Eddie and then my twin brother were born here. So they really didn't step up the plate to help my parents. So again, I'm the youngest, and I had to like, I think I had too much on my plate that I knew I had to do it for my parents because they didn't have any education at all whatsoever.
Wow.
So growing up, it was really, really tough. And I know in third grade, I remember knowing that I thought I had a disease when they told me your daughter has dyslexia. And I'm like, I was like, am I dying? Because they didn't have any resources, or they didn't really knew what was going on, especially here in Texas. They didn't know what was going on. They thought that was like I guess slow, but at the time I know I was not slow. It took me a while to um comprehend the words because I would used to get confused with the letters and the numbers. And I wish I had someone that could mentor me, like Dee said.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had someone to tell me the materials what I needed. And going to high school too, that was really hard for me. Like I had to like do everything on my own and still helping my parents and going to college. Like I had to do everything on my own and I didn't know what was going on. And I just knew that I had to do it because I know education was very important. I knew that it was very important. And I just wish that someone was there to like, okay, this is the process, this is what you're gonna do, and it's gonna be hard. You know, I didn't know it was gonna be hard, but like Dee said, if we didn't went through the struggle, we wouldn't learn if we are not who we are today and share our experience and our story. And I don't want my kids to go through that. You know,
Right.
now my kids are Salvadorian, Mexican, so they have both different Hispanics cultures. So I want them to embrace those both cultures, Salvadorian and Mexican. And I even told this to myself: if I get kids, I gotta make sure they know Spanish. It's very important because
Mm.
I think bilingual is a very high rate of getting money where you work. You know, so it's very important. So yes.
No, and that's a good point. And my little heart breaks for you thinking of like a little Carmen, like being
Yeah.
tearful and fearful of getting a diagnosis of being dyslexic.
Yes.
It is one of those things I wish that someone would have been there to help normalize that for you. But that's something we're gonna get into later. Don't worry, ladies. I got some questions. I'm probably gonna make all three of you cry. That's the goal tonight.
Where's my tissue?
Crying with
I need paper.
the ugly
Aw.
cry faces and stuff. Now let me hear from you, Kathy. What was that like growing up first generation for you?
Well, in a way, I mean, it was similar to Carmen's that, I mean, my parents, they understood English, but they weren't the best at speaking English. So I
Hmm.
had to go to all of their doctor appointments with them, any like court stuff or immigration things. I went with them to the consulate. I mean, and there's people there who speak Spanish and English, but they liked for me to like help them understand easier,
Hmm.
even with like legal things and like school stuff. If they ever had a meeting at my school with the counselor or the parent teacher conference, and the kids aren't once you get to a certain age, I don't think you're supposed to be in the classroom with them. But
Right.
my mom always requested that I help her, translate because either like even if they knew English, I think there was a part of them that didn't feel confident enough
Okay.
and like empowered, like that they could really express what they wanted to the other people in English. And so I was always their translator anywhere we went. But and I was the middle child. My sister was, or is, she's 2 years older than me, and she left the house at a younger age. She was 15.
Hmm.
So it's like I was 13 at the time, 12 or 13. I took the burden of, being the one to help them with everything after that because my mom and dad always worked. They always had one or two jobs, both of them. And so I had to help take care of my little brother because I have a brother who's 4 years younger than me.
Hmm.
And so, I would walk to his elementary school to check him out of ASP, the after school program. Since my parents worked and I was in middle school at the time, I got out after him. So they allowed an older sibling to go and check him out. But I would just walk there because we lived close to the school, luckily.
Right.
But yeah, like it was, to us, like it wasn't anything hard or out of the ordinary. Like, that's how like we were raised to help around the house. By the time my parents came home from work, we had to have the dishes done, the house vacuumed, and our homework done. We didn't, if I needed homework help, I I could maybe go to them for some things. Like
Mhm.
I remember one time in lit class, I had to write about like a different culture experience. Like I had to interview someone, and I was like, okay, great, my parents. But other than that, when it was like, geometry and like different classes, I couldn't ask my parents for help. I had to do that stuff on my own or
Well,
make sure that, I got the help I needed at school. But for the most part, like, me and my brother and my sister, we were the ones that did everything around the house. And I mean, and I give them credit too, because they were great parents still. Like they've always, put family first. And to them, like, no matter how hard you work, you always make sure that the kids are taken care of, and I know they have their struggles too internally, but they always made sure to let us know that they loved us.
see, and
And
that's
I feel like that's something I want to teach my children too, that I'm, whatever I do in life, my priority is that, that you guys grow up knowing that I love you, because it's just me with them. So I really want them to know this.
and I'm sure they do. And obviously, I think they'll appreciate it even more as they get older. It's going to go through the dips. Like when we were growing up, we loved our parents, and I was like, I appreciate you, and now I can't stand the thought of you. And then you go back to appreciating them, but you always remember that they
Uh-huh.
love you. So what I'm hearing from all three of you though is like, was there ever a bit of a few things that come up as you're talking? Did you ever feel isolated having to be in that role of like being a translator, being responsible in that sense? Did it make you feel isolated from the rest of your classmates or from other people from outside of your own culture?
To me, it didn't, because a lot of my friends, when I came to Georgia, there was a big. We came to live in the city where it was a big Hispanic population. So
Okay.
right off the bat, some of my best friends were Latinas. I think most of them were Mexican. So they pretty much were growing up the same as us, with the same kind of responsibilities. Most of us were raised Catholic. We had siblings. I think all of us had siblings. We always have big families. So I didn't feel isolated, or that my story was even like unique, until I got older and learned about other people's homes who were not Latinas, and how the different family dynamics are and responsibilities. So um I still always appreciated everything.
Because it set that foundation for you. That actually makes me really happy knowing that you were in the community because the reason I asked that question, but before I go there, let me hear from the other sisters. What was that experience? Was it isolating for you? How did that feel having to take on that role?
I agree with Kathy. I think growing up, when you're young, when you're a little kid, you don't notice these things, right? But I think for me, it really hit me when I was in high school, because I went to a high school that was very diverse. So it was different. When I was at home, my neighborhood, there was a lot of Hispanics. I grew up with a lot of Hispanics and a lot of Black people. But when I went to school, it was a different setting, and
Mhm.
we had white people, Asian people, and some Hispanics. So to see that shift to me was, it was kind of like a shock. Like, there, I felt like that's when it hit me. I felt I had more responsibilities, and I saw kids, enjoy themselves, like go out, have all these vacations and stuff like that. And I always wondered, you're right, like how do their parents do it? That's when I noticed the difference. That's when it really hit me. Like, okay, I see. Like, yeah, I am different. I'm being raised different. And yeah, it had an impact on my life for sure.
What
Um,
about you, Carmen? I see you leaning back, gangster.
um, yeah, I agree with Kathy and Dee. I guess I think it kind of hit me when I was in high school. Where I was going at the school was mostly a lot of Hispanics and Blacks and Asian, like the first. I think there was this one incident when I had to work really in a young age. I was 14 at the time. I remember working at the flea market, the pulga. I don't know if y'all know what is that, the pulga. It's like
We
store
call
with
it
a
that
lot.
too.
Yeah, I call it the pulga, but it's a flea market. I
Yeah.
remember working there at the age of 14 because I know we were struggling, but we still managed. I'm not gonna be honest with you guys. I know we didn't have like food all the time, but I think I was really happy eating noodles and eggs every day. You know, I was okay. I wasn't really complaining about it. Like, oh, why can I not have like a fajita,
Yeah.
tomorrow or something, or because I would hear my friends like talking about how they had carne asada in the weekend and how they're had these clothes on Abercrombie, and they all my friends had cars, and at the time I was just like kind of hit me really hard knowing that are they going to the same struggles that I'm going, because I feel like they weren't, because their
Wow.
parents, I feel like they knew how to read Spanish, and some of them knew English, and knowing, I think especially my parents, I feel like they were old generation. I
Mhm.
think my mom had me very, very, I think in her 35 or something. I don't know. She had me really not too old or not too young, but still. Um, it just kind of like got confused, like knowing that, okay, well, I'm living differently than my friends. And I remember I had a best friend. I'm always going to remember her. Her name was Jessica. And I was always see that her parents and will work hard, and they will always have these nice cars. Her house was nice. And then I will just tell myself, well, what is the difference between her and me? You know,
Wow.
like I was comparing, and I shouldn't be comparing. But again, you're in high school, and everybody, we're young. I was dumb. I didn't know any better, and I
Yeah.
was telling myself, maybe if I start working, maybe I can feel what they're feeling, because
Mm.
I was always going at the thrift store. I didn't mind, I wouldn't even go to the mall. Like,
Right.
that wasn't me. I just go to the Segunda, It's still handy downs. I'm okay with it as long as I'm happy.
Right.
And I'm telling you, they have some good clothes. um, but then I just started working and started making my own money. But then I started telling myself, well, now that I have money, maybe we can start eating good. Maybe we can start going out to Jack in the Box or something,
I love
because
that.
we would never go out to restaurants. So when I started working at the flea market, I guess I was selling blankets. I was the girl standing in the corner telling people, come here. I am selling blankets. Véngase, véngase. Estoy vendiendo cobijas,
Pase, pase.
Yes, pase,
Aw.
pase. So I was working for 2 days. I was making $200, $300. I was still good. And I was like, here, mom, we're going to go to the Chinos tomorrow. We're going to go out to eat. So to me to do that, it was okay. But it did kind of hit me really hard, though, to be honest with you.
It's no, because it's crazy, because let me tell you, from an outsider looking in, right? Even in my day-to-day, today, for instance, a young man comes up with his two parents, and he's a little fellow. I mean, little. He was like maybe 7 at best, and he walked up and addressed me like he was a grown man, and his parents are standing behind him, and they were asking questions about a credit card. And I was like, but I have learned in these instances, as I'm addressing the young man, I make sure I address the parents, because I've been in that situation before where you don't understand, right? But you don't want to lose dignity behind that. And that's something that has always really impressed me when I do see these small children translating, that they never overstep the bound, because you can always see the dad is looking at the back of their head like, you say one thing, you agree to anything. I may not understand what you're saying, but I guarantee I'll snatch your soul right out of your body.
Yeah.
Now, it
Yeah.
was one situation was cute and it was adorable. This dad walks up to me, he's asking about a computer, and we're having a conversation, and you know, as you three know, my Spanish is more covert than it is useful. Like, I'm just like, I know what you said, and I know what you wrote, and I know what you wrote. That's right. And like, I'm talking to the guy about the computer, so we're bouncing English and Spanish back and forth with each other. And he's the general conversations he was asking, is this a good price to pay for a computer? that my son wants. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good price. And we go back and forth, and he walks away, and the son walks up. He's like, what did he say to you? And I was like, well, I only understood a little bit. He was like, will you tell him will you tell him this is the best computer? And the dad is just looking at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Junior, I can't do that. I can't do it. But dynamic draws people closer to their parents, because it does put the child in the position where it's like the parent is forced to trust the child and really rely on the child. And it's a beautiful burden, but my heart always goes out. Let me talk to you ladies about something. So I grew up in New York, as you know, right? So I grew up in Harlem. I'm 3 blocks away from quote unquote what they would call Spanish Harlem, but now we just say one Harlem, and that area is predominantly occupied when I was growing up by Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and a sprinkle of Cubans, right? So the schools I went to, it was primarily Black and Latino kids. I was not exposed to El Salvadorian culture or Mexican culture until I moved to LA. And then I didn't understand really the differences in the cultural pride that people take. Like, I understood Dominican pride. Believe me, I understood Puerto Rican pride, but I was taken back the very first day I was in Echo Park, and I walked down to what's like supposed to be Little Tijuana, right? And there are always these areas in cities where it's, I think D knows what I'm talking about. It's right off of like Hyperion or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're always like, there's always these areas like Little Jamaica, Little Chinatown, blah, blah, blah. But I remember walking here, and I was like, whoa, I am in Tijuana right now. I'm like, and when I say that, it was because everything was owned by the people who had moved from Tijuana. This wasn't like a tourist trap where it was like a few white guys and they had sombreros on and they're like, hey, welcome to Mexico. Like, no, these were families that owned these restaurants forever. When you see your culture represented in a positive way, what type of feeling does that give you, ladies? Like when you see the beauty of your culture represented correctly?
It makes me feel proud. Like, I mean, I feel a big happiness and joy to say, that's me. Like, I'm Mexicana, I'm Salvadoreña. Like, this food is delicious. The music is amazing. Like, you just want to dance. And and the fact that other people can see it, you can have, a piece of our culture when you walk into one of these restaurants. You can, when you have a neighbor who speaks Spanish and you get to know them and where they're from, like, you're learning part of Latino culture, because it's not just one thing. It's, so many countries, and each country has their own practices. And like, we even our Spanish is different. Like, my mom's Spanish is different from my dad's Spanish. Like, there's some words I know that I'm going to use when I'm around my dad's family versus when I'm with my mom's family, because if I use some of the Mexican words for the outlet for electricity, like my Salvadoran mom's family, they won't understand what I'm saying if I say the Mexican words for it. So that, you gotta like,
yeah.
I always have to switch between the two. But like I said, like, it makes me feel proud when I see like our music being portrayed, or even famous actors in movies. You're like, oh, okay. Like that guy, Carmen was just talking about the guy in that in Moon Knight. I think he's from Guatemala.
Oscar
Guatemala.
Isaac. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you feel this pride and joy when you see things that are like from where you're from or your family is from, and how you can pass this on to your children too, and to your friends and neighbors, people who you love, people who you come to be around.
Yeah. I dig it. Go ahead, D.
Oh, I agree with Kathy. You feel like this joy, and you want to let other people know about your culture. You feel, a little bit of pride, and you want to share that with others, because it makes you happy. And like, yeah, like, look, this is our food, this is our music, and you want to share that with them. And seeing that, yeah, here in LA, there's a big community. You have, the Salvadoran community, with all the pupusas, empanadas. Like, oh man, I love it. I'm Guatemalan, but my kids, they're Guatemalan and Salvadorian. So yeah, I had to learn how to cook Salvadorian food, and I love it, and I love me my Mexican food, and it's just great. I and that's what we want to share. Well, that's what I want to share, with other people, to understand like the struggle, but also like the richness, the culture. It's just a beautiful thing, and it's very heartwarming when you see that. It's like, yeah, that's I know, like I can connect with you because I know the struggle, and
Yeah,
I know how it is, to be maybe very low, and but now you're up here, and it's just I always say like it's such a blessing,
it's a
so
beautiful thing.
it
How about,
is.
how about you, gangster? Gangster, gangster.
I agree with Kathy and Dee for sure. It takes really it does bring joy to me knowing that, especially again that I told you about my city when it comes to like Hispanic parades and they're independent. They take it they party here, and I think that brings really joy. You best believe I'm gonna be there at that parade because they're gonna have different food. Come on, kids, let's go. We're gonna try all these beautiful food. You know I'm gonna go for the tacos. I had to learn how to cook Mexican and Salvadorians, bringing the tacos. So yeah, it just amazed me. It just every time I go there, every year at September, from the 12th all the way to the October, I'm gonna be there eating the food, and they're dancing. They have different music, their culture, and it's just amazes me. It does, knowing that people actually want to learn the culture and they want to know more about it. So that to me is amazing.
So
Yes.
that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about. Like, so outside of just say the music and say the food, what are other things? Because here's my fear, right? My fear is that sometimes people want to pigeonhole cultures to just the music and just the food, and it's just like, and that's it. That's all you need to learn about these people. They, they make great food and they like to dance, and we. you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I
Yes.
know that there are things that bind us together as a human people, and I think one of the things that I've always been able to bond with a lot of my Latino friends over, it's like, you know, like, come on, bro, I'm black. Hip hop is not the sum total of who my people are, right? You know more to us than that, right? You know we have a rich history. What are things about your cultures that you wish were more front line and represented in popular culture?
Well, that's a good
Hmm.
question.
Yeah, I told you. I told
That
you.
is a good question. We know how to party for
I
3 days. I
I
gotta think
think
about that one.
Go ahead, D.
for me it's the struggle of immigrating from your homeland, you know I wish we talked more about that because I think the media just, you know, sometimes, well, it's not truthful, and they pin us as, oh, maybe they're criminals or something like that, something negative.
Right.
But in reality, a lot of our parents, they came here to give us a better future because our homeland is a third world country, and there is no jobs, there is no food, and I think that's something we really should be talking about, and um, like how hard work pays off, and we're not just here because I hear a lot of negative stuff. You're taking our jobs, you're taking our housing, things like that. That's something I think we need to, as a community, come together and talk about that, and so we can also educate other people. We're not here to take anything from no one. We're here to grow, just like you, just like anybody else. We're here to grow,
Right.
and that's something that I feel like we should be discussing for sure.
It's a valid point. Did you two want to weigh in on that?
I definitely agree. I do feel that I guess Central Americans, and we see it now with Haitian immigrants, how they're portrayed in the news and with the new waves of immigration coming. There's always been people migrating here, and during uh, no offense to anyone, but during the Trump era, he painted Salvadoran people out to be criminals, rapists, murderers, and he specifically targeted people from El Salvador. He said, the Salvadorans coming here
Right.
in caravans.
Right.
There a lot of them are rapists, murderers, and yeah, there's some cases of illegal immigrants coming here and doing violent crimes, but that's not the whole of us. And I can say, just based off my family and my parents, that they've worked hard here in this country. They pay taxes. They may not all be U.S. citizens, but they have residency. You can be a permanent resident here,
Right.
and even if you come illegally, there's always a pathway to citizenship or residency if you want it.
Right.
And if you maintain a good history, no criminal charges, and you work your butt off, you can make it here, just like anyone else from other countries.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And they're see, and I'm glad you brought that up because we were going there next. Go ahead, Carmen.
No, I agree with Kathy, whatever she was saying. She took the words. I feel like me and Kathy think the same. Yeah, with the Trump, with the thing that happened, he was actually blaming the Salvadorians. That really kind of triggered me of knowing that, because he was talking about my country, because I am Salvadorian American, and it really kind of bothered me because I know they're coming over here because it's gang violence. I don't know if you've ever heard about this gang, MS-13. There's MS-13 and the 18th streets in El Salvador. The gang revolution there is really bad,
Right.
like literally. And I think that was one of the reasons too why my mom came here to El Salvador, because people really don't know. Again, we have to educate people what is really going on in Central America. Like
Right.
recently, like a week ago, the president got a lockdown on the night of arresting a lot of gangbangings over there because the violence is getting really bad. So when he became president, I don't know, I can't pronounce his name, the president that's in El Salvador. I don't know if you know, Kathy, but he recently was president, I think a couple years ago, but he's doing his job. If you can see that the rate of the gangbang is going down. It before him, it was just really ridiculous. There was a lot of people dying out of nowhere, and people are scared to get out of the houses. They're
Right.
scared for their children, and there was a certain time that they had to be home because where my mom lives, the gangbang is really bad. They don't have lights, so their light is waking up in the daytime. Okay, it's morning. You hear the chicken. We got to do our things. So whenever they see the sun is going down, they have to go home because they don't have lights there. So it's really bad over there. So for them for coming here to find a future, to like, I think that's very important. And I think that to me, it just like, like I just went blank. My bad. It happens to me all the time. I get freezing in my brain.
No, you're doing great.
You know what I mean.
No, but
Yeah.
it's true, because here's the thing about it, right? I think America struggles with many things, but one of the things that has always been highlighted in me, in my estimation, especially when we're talking about the conversation of immigration, is empathy, right? So the narrative is, as Dee was bringing up, and all three of you talked about, is you're coming here, you're taking our jobs, you're taking housing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in actuality, there are millions of people who migrate from Latin America who are not involved in gangs, right? And there is a reason. If you're familiar with gang culture, which I am, you will understand that they are being targeted and victimized against their will. They're not fleeing to America because it's like, well, God damn it, today's the day we take over. No, it's like they're coming here in the hopes to gain the promise that this country promotes, right? That you can come here, work hard, raise your children, live safely. And it's, America has propped itself up as this beacon of hope. Why wouldn't people be drawn to that? Kathy brought up, what's going on with the Haitians, what's been going on with the Haitians in Latin America
Exactly.
for a long time. And I think one of the things that's frustrates me about the conversation is to see the apathy of some people. So about 2 years ago, when, or what was it, maybe 2 years ago, the caravan conversation, there was a story that broke, and this is what I'm talking about: lack of empathy, lack of heart. People were making their way over the river, and there was a picture found, and I'll never be able to unsee this image. And it's the type of image to make you grab your baby, but it was a father and a small child who tried to make the cross, and they drowned together, and the baby was still clung to his back underneath his shirt. And in certain instances, you look hard enough, you'll find the most disgusting things on the internet. And there were people who were like, well, why would that father put that child at risk? And I'm like, have you ever been in a situation where I got to do this, or it's death anyway, right?
Yeah.
What would push a
Yes.
person to take that chance? And I think that's the thing that we don't deal with. When you ladies hear the type of rhetoric coming from the right, is there any part of it where you go, okay, I understand what you're saying, but you're wrong about this? Because sometimes, even when I see it forced on my community, I've gotten in trouble with other Black people about this. I'm like, I'm going to sit and listen and see what these morons are saying. I'm going to see if there's truth to what they're saying. And if there isn't any truth, then I'm gonna attack. But first, let me listen. Do you ever find yourself in a position where you're like, well, let me hear first and then respond? And what's that like?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say you don't, maybe they say these negative things because you're right, they haven't been through it. They don't understand it, And I do find myself, okay, I understand the other side, trying to defend our borders and all of that, I understand because, we are Americans and yeah, we should protect our borders. But to take it to that extreme and say that, all of these people are coming here, to murder your women and all of that. And, that's very stupid. And yeah, you don't understand the struggle. Like you said, we're not here to take over anything, man. We're just trying to find the American dream, right, that our people have heard of, because we're literally starving in our countries, and being murdered, by violent gangs, like Carmen was saying. MS and 18th Street, they've it's not only in El Salvador now, now it's in where I'm from, Guatemala. They're taking over. 18th Street has taken over,
Right.
and it's horrible. It's horrible. Like you can't even have a small business over there without them being on top of you, and you have to pay them and then all of that, and people don't understand that. That's what I was saying. Like, I wish people would really open their eyes, and see the other side, instead of just saying all these negative comments and stuff like that.
Yeah, empathy. What do you think, Kathy?
Sorry, kids. It's their spring break. No, I do agree. And also that stereotype of the Latinas here, having babies and using Medicaid and food stamps. First of all, if you're an illegal immigrant, you cannot apply for federal aid, period. So, the only people that can, like if you have a child born here, okay, maybe they qualify for Medicaid, stuff like that. But if you, your parents, whoever are illegal immigrants or are in the process of applying for any kind of status, you don't qualify for federal aid. So right off the bat, like, that stereotype is wrong.
Right.
And second of all, even as it is now, there's still, this is a what is it called? A melting pot of,
Yeah.
different ethnicities, cultures, backgrounds. People come from all over the world here, and they have ever since the beginning of the United States.
Right.
Sure.
Go ahead. That's right, Kathy. Say what you.
I agree.
But what I did want to say was, when I took the first time I was introduced to having to take foreign language at school was in middle school. And even though the the Latin community was growing here in Georgia, it was still majority Black and white people here. And a lot of people wanted to take Spanish over French. And,
Right.
you know, and the Latino community, it wasn't that big. Like downtown ATL, with like there's even still like there's maybe taco stands and taco trucks, but not all the
Mhm.
restaurants you see are actually
Okay.
Mexican. You know, they're just like catered to like American communities that
Mhm.
aren't Hispanic. But where I'm going now with this is that, you know, most people were choosing Spanish as their foreign language to take. And, you know, we weren't even that many Hispanics here, but the people
Mhm.
who were able to choose were choosing Spanish. And I feel like, you know, growing up in a country such as this, where English is one of the main languages of the world, you know, it's good that you're offered the chance to learn about other cultures here in the schools, because you don't just learn the language, they also teach you about the cultures, right? You learn about authors, artists, all kinds
Yeah.
of people who speak that language. And so it's a beautiful thing to be in a country where, you know, we are all accepted, or at least hoping to be, and to become a part of this great nation.
Yeah. It's a good point. I think what's interesting is that, so again, outside looking in, right? It's always it's one of these things where when you hear the rhetoric about gang culture, right? And obviously I can empathize with that. I can see how the actions of a few, and of which I was culpable. I'll never lie. I'm just waiting for someone to do my exposed video, but like this mother. But like I get that, because it's like, the actions of a few are highlighted to paint an entire group, right? And then when you talk about gangs like Miami, which is not a gang, that's a conversation for another time, which I won't drag you guys into. I have someone else that I'm going to bring on for that. But
Oh.
it he's someone, he lived it, you know what I'm saying, he lived it, and he's he got out, and he's grateful to be out. But 18th Street and all these gangs, man, what has always upset me when I lived in LA, and again I'm culpable in this, is how that has divided two groups that should find solace in each other, right? For a long time in California, Texas, ATL, Chicago, not so much, for a little while in New York as well, and in Boston, the gang culture separated two cultures because violence started to happen between these two groups, right? Then it spilled over into civilian territory. And there was a time when I was living in LAD, you'll probably remember this, it got on and cracking with the Bloods and MS-13, more so MS-13 than it was like the Sureños. Like for some reason, they it just got cracking. One summer, it was probably the worst summer to be in LA, to be a civilian and not be a part of gang culture, because it went from the gang shooting each other to they started targeting people who weren't associated, and that caused a wedge. So this is a bit of more of a more sensitive topic, but I'd be remiss if we don't get into a little bit. What do you think that our communities from your side of the table can do to relate and empathize to each other and pull closer together against the obvious common threat that that we face on a day-to-day basis? Let's start with Kathy, because Kathy be beating her chest. I can see her nodding her head. She's like, I was hoping you was gonna ask that. What do you think, Kathy?
I mean, to understand each other, I just feel like, you know, a lot of the Hispanic communities just need to remember why. I mean, if you didn't come here, right, like us, we were born here. We were first generation US citizens. But, you know, the people in the communities, in the Spanish speaking communities, you know, should remember why they or their family came here. They came here seeking peace, seeking freedom to have, you know, a job, to be able to make money, to support your family, to be able to walk outside your home without the fear of being killed. And, you know, that has to unite us, you know, the fact that we made the journey, if not us, but, you know, our parents, our grandparents, and we have so much love and fun culture to spread around, and we should rejoice in what we have and what we are, and remember that.
It's a good point. It's a good point. You wanna go for a D or you wanna go for a Carmen? I see Carmen.
Well, wait, I do want to add this, that
Go ahead.
another thing that I feel gets when talking about gang wars is that in the communities, most I think probably all of Latin America is some form of Christian, and I feel like believing in the church, or if your parents did, your families did, that's another way to connect amongst each other.
That's a really good point. And in all honesty, Kathy, to all my Christian friends that are out here listening who sit idly by when it used to be a huge portion of Christianity to do outreach in communities, and that was the maybe I think I'm just getting to that old age where I just remember things better. I'm probably firmly stepping in there where just you would hear about the the Inglesia church meeting with the First Baptist church, and they would just like sit down, break bread with each other, and try to do cross community events with each other. But enough from me. What do you think, D?
I agree. I feel like it does start in our household, with our children. I feel like honestly most of these people who are involved in, not all, but involved in gangs, they do come from broken families, and they're trying to find something, or somewhere to fit in. So you know what's out there, you have someone telling you, oh, you can make easy money, you can, like run the block and things like that, right? So
Right.
I feel like we need to, as a community, not only, oh, because they're not my kids, as a community we need to come together and protect our children, have them involved in other things, other activities, like Kathy said, the church,
Soccer.
yeah, yeah, like, yes, sports, other activities, martial arts, things like that,
Yeah.
I think now there's more opportunities than what we had growing up, there's more programs, there's, therapy, counseling, all of that is, it's like it's improving, I would say,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I really believe that it starts in our household, how we're raising our children and how much love we're giving them, and understanding. So I think if we would come together and really look at our children and say, like, how can I, you know how can I change that mentality that we have growing up in the hood, like, how can I help my
Right.
children? Yeah, I feel like that would be very impactful and helpful.
What about you, my sister? Carmen?
I agree with both of them. Don't be mad at me, you guys, but what's the question again?
Well, the question was like, I had framed it, the gang violence between black gangs and the tension between black gangs and Hispanic gangs is kind of divided two people groups that really don't have anything to do with that gang violence, right? But out of fear and safety, have kind of retreated over the years away from each other. What do you think we can do to kind of come back together as black people and blacks and Latinos can come together?
I think we should all have a potluck together and have barbecue and tacos and. But I agree with Kathy and Dee. I think it's important to, especially what Dee said, it's important to be there for our children and not that have them at church or playing sports or something, because I do that to my kids. Like, okay, you guys are gonna go and do t-ball. Like, I ain't gonna sign them up because I feel like we didn't have all those resources when we were, younger, and now that is different. Like how Dee said, it's increasing now. Now it's more programs there and more understanding and more of what we could do for our children. So yes, I agree with Kathy and Dee. definitely. But I do agree we should have a potluck. You know, hey you guys, I'm having carne asada. Come over. You know,
Yeah.
because I know you guys can party too.
No, but it's true, man. There's a reason they say break bread, right? I know there's a sacrament,
Yeah.
like when the Bible talks about it's not just talking about just eating with each other, but it's the communion that happens. People are
Yes.
sharing a meal and two communities come together and you see that happen. But you brought up your kids, and so now we're gonna get into the tough questions. Y'all some moms. Y'all some moms up in here. Y'all some responsible moms, some hardworking moms. Or do you mind me bringing up the single mom thing? Is
No.
it okay? So I have learned from my experience, not being an outsider looking in, but having, being that guy to come over to a few houses of Latin descent and getting that look from the uncle and the dad who coincidentally were both there at the same time when I showed up to pick someone up. I've had the same experience with you know, African American girls I've dated, white girls, but specifically, what is that like growing up as a single mom coming from Hispanic heritage? What was that like having to have that conversation with your family? Uh-oh.
The conversation,
Like, I'm having a baby.
if anything, I feel like in my case,
Mhm.
my parents, they weren't necessarily like, they don't hold grudges against me or any kind of like negative view about, why it's just me. But at the same time, they're like, well, in the beginning at least, like pushing me as in like, why can't things work out, and stuff like for the kids' sake, or it's
Right.
not that easy, and it's not always what you want. It's right, it's what happens. And you just got to work on what you have been dealt the best way you can.
Right.
But culturally, I know that we're not, well, I mean, I guess anywhere in the world, right? It's not ideal like a one parent household, because it is a struggle. It's a lot of responsibilities, it's a lot of stress. But at the end of the day, you do everything because you love your kids. You're going to do it for them. You're going to be there for them and try to be the best mom possible.
Yeah. It's so funny because I remember Kathy and D. I gotta tell you something. Kathy and Carmen were so nervous about doing this, and anytime I picked them up, they were like, "I don't have nothing to say. I don't have nothing to say." I was like, "Yo, figure it out once you get on this show."
Yeah, for
What
sure.
was that? What was that like for you, D?
Ooh, for me, it was difficult. I felt, some sort of like I let them down,
Mm,
I'm gonna have a child. I was very young when I had my first child, and I was in college. It was my first year, I believe. Um, and it was hard. I didn't know how to tell them, I didn't know what was gonna happen. And it was just very difficult. And by this time I was already out of the house. I was working, I was going to school, and it was still very hard, even though I wasn't in their house, because I was brought up, you marry, and then you have your children. And I felt like I let them down, a disappointment. But once I told them, I mean, thank God, they like Kathy said, they don't hold grudges, like my parents didn't. They were like, okay, so your life is about to change, and now you got to think about this little person that you're gonna bring, this little human. It's not about you anymore, it's
right.
about, yeah, that person. But it that weight was lifted off my shoulders, just telling them, having that conversation, like, hey, I'm pregnant, I'm gonna have a kid, and I'm still a kid myself, basically,
Right.
so yeah, it was difficult, but I think that I was harder on myself than they were, on me. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I mean, not beautiful that you were harder on yourself, but that you had that experience where like, all right, all hands on deck.
Yeah,
Was it the same thing for
absolutely.
you? Was it the same thing for you, Carmen?
I think mine is I think it's different from D and Kathy. I got married at the age of 23. I assume that's bad. I think it's around 23 or 24. And before I met my husband, my mom told me, I don't know what was her problem, but I don't know if your parents are like that, Dee or Kathy, but my mom did not like Mexican. She didn't.
Salvadorian and
She
Mexican
didn't.
people have grudges against each other. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't know why. I don't know why. And she found out that I was dating a Mexican, she's like, ¿Y por qué? I was like, like, why? Why are you dating a Mexican?
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, mom, I love him, and I think he's the love of my life, and I can't see my life without him. Well, why you can marry someone else except Mexican? Go and date a Salvadorian or a black or a white. And then I told myself, I will never, ever date a Salvadorian, mom. I have dated one, and I'm never gonna date one ever again.
Oh man.
No excuse.
My mom was
no
the opposite.
offense,
She told me not to date a
But
Salvadorian
I mean, I
man.
didn't have anything wrong with Salvador. Yeah, my mom told me that. She's like, marry a Salvadorian. I was like, no, ma'am, no, thank you. Dated one ever again, never. But that was just me. But when
Right.
she found out, she was really upset because he was trying to ask my hand of marriage. He wanted to come to my house and ask my parents' permission. My mom was angry that he wanted to come to my house and ask me for my hand in marriage. So imagine me, being happy. Oh my God, he's gonna ask me to marry him in front of my parents, and I was happy about it. And then when she's like, "No, I don't want him here," and she was really upset, so I had to accept her decision because it's her house. I didn't want to to be rude, and I even told my mom they're on their way. No, you need to tell them. So I told Uzi, hey, don't come over. My mom, he was really upset about it.
Wow.
But yeah, he was really mad, and they his parents cooked this whole meal for us, and he was really upset about it. And I don't blame him. He was really mad for I would say a week.
Wow.
And he was like, you know what? I don't care what your mom says. I'm still going to marry you. So my mom was really hard on me knowing that I was going to marry Uzi because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was like the bread maker. I was making really good money and I was helping my parents. I was always giving them my paycheck. I wouldn't complain about it because I feel like I needed to do this to help them out, to make sure they're okay. Um, I guess she knew that she was losing me, but I kept on telling her, Mom, you're not losing me. I'm still here. I'm still your daughter. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna be there to translate you. I'm gonna take you to your doctor's appointment. Mom, don't feel like that. Sometimes you gotta let the birdie fly. I'm growing up. I want to get married. I want to have kids. But she was really upsetting. She's like, I am not going to your wedding. I am not. And my mom had this huge ego. She didn't want her to go. And I remember crying and praying to God. I was like, God, this is the love of my life. I want to marry him. I want to, I want my life to be with him. And I was just praying that day, hopefully she'd change her mind that she'll go. Because it was like a week before I get married. It was November 6th. It was a week before, and she said, nope, I'm not going. I'm not going. I asked her again, Mom, I need you to be there. How are you going to do that to me? I'm your daughter. Like, from all my brothers and sisters, I wanted to get married at a church because I feel like that's very important to me, especially you're getting married by God. And that to me was very important. And to have my parents there means the world to me. And she was like, no, you're going to have your dad. Your dad's going to be there to walk you. And I think like 3 days before, she changed her mind. And she's like, you know what? You are my daughter. I'm going to do it for you. And at the time, my mom couldn't see because she has impaired vision. So she's blind. And I think that was one of the most happiest moments of my life, seeing
It's
that my mom was
beautiful.
there. I'm gonna cry.
First one down. First one down.
Well, it's good she went.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
went, and seeing her there and seeing my dad, he walked me down the aisles, and um, I think that really rejoiced to me, and like knowing that she's like, accepted him now, and knowing that it was really hard on me, and we have this like co-parenting thing, me and Izzy, and now I'm gonna be honest with you, marriage is hard. The 3 years of marriage was really hard for me, because my mom will be keeps like telling me like, no, this man is not for you. Like she would just tell me things, and like, yeah, it was just really hard, and I don't know what it was. I think because I have a sister-in-law, she's Mexican, and I think that's where she had this mindset, thinking, okay, where all the Mexicans are the same. No, mom, I think that's just Mexican women, especially that generation older. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, my mother-in-law don't like me because I'm Salvadorian.
Right.
Her it's just very confusing to know these two races don't like each other, and
Mm.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's really getting me really annoyed. I'm like we all
Yeah.
are Hispanic, we should help each other. You have
Right.
tacos, I have pupusa, let's just all have a potluck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I don't understand.
Uh-huh.
Just accept that your kids like. And that's one of the things too. Once my kids are getting older, marry who the hell you want to marry. If this person makes you happy and it feels like it's meant to be, just marry. I don't really care, Like I think that's what makes us unique in this world, that we are different. We have different colors. We have different textures in our hair. Like that's what makes the United States, right? How
Yeah.
we're all united, and I think we should do that. Love each other.
Yeah.
Did you guys see how
Yeah.
Carmen did the mom hand gesture? She's like,
Yeah.
no, it's true. It's absolutely true, and I don't think people. I think people know, but they play ignorant. They see that there is some discommunication within the Latin community, but they don't understand how deeply some of that can go. I guard my wife's stories very, very. I hold them tight. But one of the things she shared with me, she grew up in a small town in upstate New York, and she's Colombian, and it was a Mexican family. And when I say there was a Mexican family, so it was like the little Colombian girl, Mrs. Holdup, and the Mexican family. So obviously she started dating one of the boys from the Mexican family, and she dealt with some stuff that she wasn't prepared for when he brought her home for the first time, and being an outsider from their families. And I believe he was like, he was one of two boys, and it was a bunch of girls. So she dealt with a lot of shit from his sisters, and she
Mm-hmm.
had that same experience that you're describing, Carmen. Um, and it's true. You see that in other cultures. I have a buddy, he's Nigerian, and me and this dude go back and forth all
Ooh,
the time.
sorry.
Like we just about the differences between our cultures, and I'm just like, you know, but we share more in common than we do like that we don't share in common. That is one thing I hope to see go away. But since I got one of you crying, let's see if I can get the other two crying.
No,
Let's
no
talk about
crying.
I'm such a crybaby. I'm sensitive. I'm just kidding.
no, but it's beautiful too, because like, one of the things I really enjoy about you, Carmen, is like, I know it's joking, but there's a real sense of connection with you in the way you relate to
Yes.
people in food, and you're like, look, this is something
Yes.
that can make me happy. Carmen, she champions two things: physical touch, represented by hugs. She's always giving out hugs, and she's like, allow me to offer you love incarnate by offering you food, because I made this food with
Yes.
love, and you can always tell that that's what that's
Mhm.
about. So don't ever change. Don't ever change.
Yeah.
Your little ones, the little people, joy of your life, bags under your
Yes.
eyes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
What are some lessons you would want to
So true.
impart to your children? And this, we live in a very confusing time, very scary time. It's a hard time. I think one of the hardest times to be a child is quite
Yeah.
possibly now. And what are some lessons you want to impart to your children?
That's a good question.
Let them flow. Let the tears.
One of the things that I hope I can instill in them and hopefully stays with them forever is to always be kind. That's one of the things I always tell them, be good to your friends, to your classmates, though even the ones, who don't talk a lot or you don't talk to them. Always be kind to everyone.
Mm,
Make sure that, you're a friend and that I want them to be good humans, good persons, good men, grow
mm,
up to be good men and treat people good because I feel like that's the way to heal is yeah, things are hard, cyberbullying, they're going to grow up with cell phones and technology and it's not the easiest thing to grow up with. We didn't grow up like that, so it's going to be different for them than it was for us.
right.
But I hope that I'm doing a good job in teaching them to always be kind. You know, I'm not going to instill in them those machista views of masculinity that my dad grew up with or that he tries to, put on my brother. I don't want that for them. I want them to have good hearts and be sweet and kind and I feel like that's the way to heal the world.
But also to walk up on stage and smack a guy that disrespects your wife, right?
No, I don't agree with that. That was uncalled for. That was uncalled for. He disrespected all comedians by doing that. That's their
Yeah.
job.
Chris
Mm-mm.
Rock has been disrespecting comedians with bad movies for years. This is I'm joking. What about you? No, but that's true. And I think we take for granted, that adage of kindness, right? Teaching our children to be, I don't agree with the sentiment that you can't teach someone to be empathetic. You can model empathy to your children 100%. So good, right on to you. What about you, D? What do you want them to know?
Oh, I agree with Kathy, but for me, I always try to teach my children not to judge a book by its cover. I know it's cliche, but it's true, and I think like the girls were saying earlier, our parents grew up a certain way, and I feel like we're breaking down barriers. We don't think like our parents. Um, and I want to keep doing that with my children. Be kind, love people, learn to understand people, get to know them. Don't just assume certain things. Don't you know that's what I want to teach them, and also to believe in themselves. I think growing up, that's one of the things that I struggle with so much. Like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm not gonna always doubting myself. And that's what I keep teaching my children. Like, man, you could do so much.
Right.
Now more because they're going to be second generation. There's better opportunities for them out there, but that negativity in your head can get you down. It can really, even if you have all these opportunities and all these um great things going on for you, if you're very negative, it'll get you down in a slump. So definitely I want to teach them, believe in yourself. Don't be a victim. Stand up for what you believe in. That's one of the things. Yeah. And I mean so much more, but
Yeah, it's not easy to just, like you want all these great things for your you're hoping that you're teaching them the right way to be, the right way to get there.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's hard.
it's a big responsibility. Yeah. You're molding a child's mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too many people take that for granted and they don't realize that they're raising the very opposition that they've been fighting their whole life, and that's why I wake up every morning and I look at my son's 18, you get a punch in the stomach and you get out. I'll pay for college, I'll pay for grad school, but you can't come back here. Mark my word. It's forward.
Yeah.
They can come back.
I agree. Yeah. That's
What about
yeah.
you, Carmen? What do you want to teach your little folk?
My little kids, my little humans. I think For me, I agree with Kathy and Dee, but for me, honestly, I think the most important thing I want to teach my kids is never lose yourself and always have faith and hope and
Mm,
always put God first in your life,
mm,
because I want them to know who's God. Because when you feel like, especially me, knowing that my parents didn't know how, or they weren't never a hugger or show us that kind of love. I want to break that generation, I would say generation curse. I want them to know how it feels to be loved when you do something good, and also be kind with everybody and be humble. I don't want to raise
Yeah.
kids that are stuck up. I'm just gonna be honest with you, because I feel like, why are you being stuck up? Because I want them to know too, like me, like I don't go to the malls and buy clothes for my kids and waste $300. No, we're gonna go to the Segunda. We're gonna go to the thrift store. I want you to know, if you want to work hard and get expensive clothes, you're gonna work and get you a job and work hard to get it.
mm.
You want it, do it. and also, I just want them to be humble and spread love as much as they can, and be kind, and like Dee say, don't judge by its books by its cover. You don't know who is struggling, because I even tell this to Sophie now that she's getting older. You have a lot of things that not a lot of kids have. You have a tablet, you have good clothes, and you got good shoes, and you don't know what they're going through, in kids' lives. So if you see someone that is struggling and doesn't have food, you be kind and give them food, because whatever you do, like you put, like we were talking me and Dee earlier, like when you put a seed, you're gonna get your blessed back. So I think that's very important to always have faith and hope. So
Yeah.
yes.
It's beautifully said, man. Now we've come to the portion of the show where, you know, it's up to y'all, right? Obviously everyone knows I never do anything on this show without a general purpose, and there's always a purpose for someone coming on to this show. So I have these three women on Conversations That Matter because I'll leave it to them if they want to talk about it or not. But I think we're gonna see something special, so I'm just gonna mute my mic, and I'll
Ooh.
whichever one of you wants to take the lead, I'll let you take the lead on it. Why are you on this show tonight?
Well,
um, we're gonna
Go
be
ahead.
we're gonna be selling tacos soon.
And Pupu says,
So please search. We're gonna start delivering them, post off, US, whatever you want. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Dee, Kathy, I don't know if you want to.
yeah. So we have a project that we're starting. Kathy, Carmen, and myself, and hopefully we can be a blessing to other people. We're gonna start a little podcast, and just so I feel like just conversations between us, and how we can impact our future generations, and talk about our struggles growing up, and how we can give out advice, just real conversations, like real stuff that we struggle with and that we've been through, and hopefully other people and from other communities can learn, about our community and what we've been through. And yeah, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. When I got the message, I was just like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And that's I am a fan. I believe everyone has a story to tell, but some people really come together and they make something special. And I believe in the project that you women are working on, and I'll be there to support in any way, shape, or fashion. And I'm proud of you, and I'm really grateful y'all came out tonight. One of the things that I hope when people sit back and they watch this interview and they see this dynamic is that, you know, they can put a face to the quote unquote struggle, right? Because I think when we personalize it and we see three distinctly different women, but with very similar stories, but in the way that you carry yourselves, I hope that they sit back and they choose to listen versus listening through their rhetoric. And that's just something that I always hope comes out of this show. And I want to thank you, sisters, again. I only got one of you to cry, but you know, there'll be time for more tears.
Oh man.
Do you guys want to send any love, any shout outs to the interwebs, any people you want to say hello to up in the chat? Let me see if I can get some people up in here. Boom! Look at that.
We can't see who's in here because this is StreamYard.
Look at the screen. You should be able to see on the screen. Someone just said something.
It's Pony. Hey. I know it's Grins. Grins is Pony. Cincy, tacos and pupusas.
Yes, that's right.
You know it. Berlin. Oh yeah, he needs a shout out right now. We got baby girl up here.
Did y'all have fun tonight?
We do want to,
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
We love you guys. Our Spoon family has been wonderful, and you've been the bestest of friends. And Steve, you've done so much for all of us. Even, your music nights, your Conversations That Matter nights. Everything you put together is done with a lot of thought, a lot of love, and you do it for us. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you for always being there, and I appreciate you. You guys are ride or dies, and I love the community that we've built. I have a lot of anxiety about it. Sometimes I'm like, what if they all disappear one day? But every day, it's a gift to see y'all come in, and it's always makes me happy every time.
Right. Yeah, Steve, I don't think you understand how much of a blessing you are to all of us. It's amazing. I believe that we all come together for a reason. And I'm thankful that I met all of you guys, our little Spoon family. You guys are amazing. I mean, you guys each bring so much to the table. Everybody has, their own thing going on. They're talented. The kindness that goes on, all those conversations. You guys are amazing. And
last year, when we met you last year, it was like during the tough year. A tough year had just gone by because of COVID. So joining Spoon and meeting people like you, bonding over music and having fun together, feeling like family, that really meant a lot. And it still is, it's so important. And you made it happen, Steve. So no need to feel anxious or scared. We got you.
No, I'm going to cry. No.
Yes.
Turn the tables on you.
Right.
No, it's all, for me personally, it's truly God bringing like people together at the right time. And, as much as I worry sometimes that people aren't seeing past our perspective cultures besides our music, it's great that we can all come together, listen to music, talk, have a good time. Shout out to Berlin. I'm going to give him a shout out for the Discord, right? Where everyone gets to, jump on video calls and stay up way too late. I'm sure we've all woken up the next day like, why did I stay on this call to 4 o'clock in the morning? It didn't make sense, but I'm glad we can do that together. Folks, D Love, Kathy the Great, Carmen the Hug Bear, Taco Rios. Name to be decided for the podcast. Please keep an eye out for that, and let's make sure we show up and turn out. If you're catching a replay of this on Anchor, it's your boy Steve, real name, no gimmicks. As always, these are the conversations that matter. Make sure you support these ladies. Go ahead, Gabby.
I do want to say one more thing. If Kaloli and Miss Hippie are out there, happy birthday to you girls tonight, tomorrow, all week. I hope you guys are celebrating and have lots of fun.
And that's right. That brings me to the next thing. Thursday, I want to hear the music makes you feel fly, but we're going to be celebrating birthdays on Thursday and 3 birthdays. So I will be getting the playlist from each one of you. It's probably going to be a long night. And so I want to hear all your fly music. We'll go Thursday to Friday, and we're going to have a good time with each other. This has been another great episode with the family. Y'all make sure y'all stay safe and stay classy. Peace.
That's right.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.